Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Drills, and we're back with a new tutorial. Now, we did cover the Blender only method last year, and it works. Of course, it works, but I'm just going to be redoing it in the fact that I'm going to simplify it, and I'm also going to show you lot how to do sparkle textures using Blender only. A lot of people have messaged me asking how they do that, and I didn't include that in the last video. So I'm going to remake this video, going to make it nice and short and sweet. Now I'm going to assume that you already know how to model a chain. If you don't, then go and check out the other videos. And basically, I'm going to assume that you know how to use Blender and you've already got the Sollumz plugin. If you don't, then of course, go check out my other videos. Now, once you've got that all said and done, we're going to go ahead and open up Blender. All right, I'm just going to turn on the screencast keys so that you can see what I'm pressing if need be. All right, so first we're going to go ahead and import our OBJ. So I've already made a chain. It is a terrible chain. Do not take this for my chain making skills. I actually realized I needed a chain and didn't want to mess around with one that was already made. So I just threw one together, just absolute basic, simple, ridiculous looking chain. And most importantly, this is a single OBJ. So I've exported it prior to this and it is only one piece. It's not multiple pieces. So make sure you've got that. I have also already UV mapped this when I made it, so I don't have to mess around with any of that stuff now. So once you've got this and it's exported as an OBJ and you're ready, come into this scene and import this first and foremost. Next, we're going to be importing some other assets. I'm going to actually give you these assets in the Discord because you can get them from CodeWalker, and last time I explained that. So if you want to know how to do it yourself, then by all means watch that video. But if you want to do this the quick way, just download these files and just save them on your computer. I do actually have a male rig and a female rig ready to use each time, so it just makes the process a lot easier. So we're going to go ahead and import them now. So I'm going to come here and I've got my mal folder here because I'm using a mal. You will find there's all of these in here. The one we're going to be excluding is the YFT. And we're going to make sure that we've got import external skeleton. So effectively the skeleton's in the folder. And then when I select these, I'm going to hold control and then select these. It's going to bring that skeleton with it anyway. So we don't want to import that. We just want to have that ticked and it will import that, if that makes sense. And then once we've got this, obviously you might want to check that it's fitting your body if you haven't already done that, which you probably should have done. My one is clipping the body, but I'm not going to worry about that because this is not a chain for a client. It is just a test chain. And you can actually go ahead and hide these, to be fair. We don't actually really need those. And if you really want to, you can actually just delete them or not even import those two in the first place. However, if you do want the body there, then by all means bring them in. So this is our chain, our OBJ, and then this is this chain with the skeleton attached. If I click here, it will remove the skeleton. And then the next thing I want to do is find this part, which is actually that chain. And I'm just going to select that and then delete it. So basically we've got the attributes and stuff from that chain and the skeleton and the pose and everything. And we're going to be linking it to our chain, which is just going to basically make it a whole lot easier so we don't have to rig the chain ourselves. So once you've done that, we're going to select the chain. And then we're going to come up to here and we're going to go to weight paint. We're going to pull this up, come to this data tab and create a vertex group. And we're going to be calling it girl underscore spline 3. It's important that it's capitalized exactly like that. And then hit enter. And then we can come up here, turn on vertex selection, press A to select all. And then we're going to assign to that. That will effectively turn our chain red, which means it has been weighted. Oh, there we go. And then next, if we close these, we're going to need a UV map called, so we double click on this UV map or create a new one. If you didn't have one at all, you would just click one there. But like I said, we've already mapped our chain. So we're going to rename this to UV map 0. Press enter. I'm going to create another UV map. I'm going to double click space 1. So UV map 0, UV map 1. Next, we're going to do color attributes. I'm going to select this. We're going to call the first one color space 1. We're going to change the domain to face corner and then change the data type to byte color. And then we're going to select the color and we're going to do FF 8000. And then we're going to hit add here. And then we're going to do another one. and we're going to call this one color space 2. Keep everything else the same. We'll click here, change this to 3 zeros, 0, 0, 0, and then select this alpha and drag it all the way down. And that is that. So that's all done in here. Now we're going to go back to object mode. Now would be a wise time to apply all your transforms just in case it isn't centered or whatever. So if you just do Control and A and then do all transforms with that selected, that will do that. And next we're going to need to create an actual material. So we're going to come here and we're going to create a new material. This is a Blender material, not a GTA material. So we will need to convert this in a moment, but we will change the base color to image texture, and we will open our texture. I am just using a plain diamond texture. I will give you this in with the folder with the other files that I said I'll give you, just so that if you just want to follow on along, so everything's the same, then you can do. So I'm going to be selecting this, opening it, and that's going to go on there. Next, we're going to go up to our shading tab. We're going to come on here. We're going to see we've got these nodes here, but again, these are just a Blender material at the moment, not a GTA material. And if we press N to open up our sidebar, come to Sollumz tools, we're going to go to drawables, shader tools, and then we're going to type in, we click that little arrow, and then we're going to type in, we're going to start typing normal, but we're going to see we've got normal spec right there. We're going to select this and we're going to do convert active material. And that's going to give us a whole different node setup. And effectively what we're doing here is we are changing the shader so it's a GTA ready shader, but it's also, because we're using the normal spec, that's adding not only our image texture, which is going to be our diffuse, but it's also adding a spec and a bump sampler or a normal map into the whole node setup. So yeah, basically that's effectively what that shader's doing. There's lots of other shaders here. They all do different things, but for this one, we're going to be using this. Now, what we need to do, obviously our diffuse is already in. So we're going to come to our spec sampler. We're going to open, and we're just going to add our spec map, which is going to be this one. And then we're going to add our bump sampler, which again is going to be that one. So that's it. All of the materials are added. Now, what we need to do is come down to this material tab here. I'm just going to drag this out so you can see this a bit better. And if we scroll down, we'll see we've got the Sollumz. I'm going to open that up. We've got texture parameters. Now, we're going to embed all 3 of these to begin. So we've got a diffuse, a bump, and spec. If you don't want to embed your texture and you want to have it on a YTD, which is probably better for optimization for the server and stuff, but for this I'm just going to be embedding it anyway. So we've got 1, 2, 3 embedded. Now we just want to change the bump sampler to non-color, and the same with the spec sampler, non-color. And then if we come under value parameters, this is before people were saying, how do I make it sparkle? I only use 3ds Max, I want to use Blender only, and I don't know how to make it sparkle because obviously I didn't include it in the other video. But effectively we're just going to be putting the similar parameters into here, what we would be putting into 3ds. Now the bumpiness is going to be 1.081. Now by all means you might have your own values, but these are the ones we're going to be using. It does look like it's not doing the one, but it is. It's just because it's a small decimal. And then we're going to be looking for the fall off, which is here. Fall off multiplier. Fall off multiplier we're going to be setting to 199. Oops, should look what I'm typing. 1997.0. Press enter. We're going to be leaving the spec intensity at 1, and we're going to change the Fresnel to 0.45. Of course, like I say, you might have different or slightly variants of these, but this is effectively how you change the values that will help enhance sparkles and stuff in the game later on. So with that all done, we can come back to here, and the next thing we're going to want to do is convert this model to a drawable. So again, we're going to want to open up our sidebar and then come down to our Sollumz tools, and it's going to be drawables, create drawable objects. And you're going to see at the moment, this is your kind of hierarchy, but once we convert it to a drawable, which is creating it to a model that will be visible inside of GTA, then you'll see the hierarchy will change a bit. So once that is selected and we're in there, just make sure that one's selected and the other 2 aren't. And we're just going to do convert to drawable, and then you're going to see the hierarchies change a little bit. So once we've got the hierarchy like this, with the not the top one, but with this chain model selected, we're going to press Alt and P, and we're going to do clear and keep transformation. That's basically going to take the model out of this hierarchy, and then we're just going to delete this one. And then you can see that I have this hierarchy open, apart from this, because this is a skeleton and this will just keep going down for all the bones. But you can see that this is open. So obviously that's closed, but while that's open, you're going to see you've got this one at the bottom. And what we're going to do effectively is grab this and we're going to drag it down to here, and then we're going to hold shift, and then we're going to let go of the mouse button. And that's going to put it inside that hierarchy, which is basically just use the rig from the original chain for our chain. And that is everything we need to do for the modeling. So basically now it's just a case of exporting the chain. So to export, we're going to select the top of the hierarchy. We're going to right click. We're going to do select hierarchy. And then if we hit V on our keyboard again, we can do export range assets. And then obviously we're going to go to wherever we're going to be saving it. So I've got a folder for export. I've got another folder in there for server, which is not where it's going to be going yet because it needs to go in here. Now, if you have got this latest version of Blender and CodeWalker, you're going to see that it will probably look like this originally. So basically you need to turn off native and Gen 9 and just have the XML on the Gen 8. And once that's all right like that, we're going to do export range assets. So that's exported. So now if we open up our folder, come to our export, we're going to see obviously we've got the XML, which we need to convert back into a YDD. Sorry, I was just thinking for a moment there. Yeah, we're going to need to convert it back into a YDD. Oh, I clicked the wrong code walker, my bad. Sorry, my brain just went a bit messy there because someone knocked on the door outside and it kind of threw me out a little bit. Now, if we open up our mods folder, I'm going to go in edit mode. Of course, if you want to just create a new folder for this, by all means do. Just call it, I'm just going to call it like something that's going to go to the top for the moment. I'm going to open that and then I'm going to drag that in, which is going to convert that back into a drawable. And of course, we want to put this in for server because this is where the files are going to be going into the server. Now, sometimes you might want to create a YTD, a texture dictionary, and add your texture to it. If you do want to do that, then you're just going to right click. You're going to do new YTD file. We'll rename it in a moment. And then obviously you come in here and you do add. And I can add one anyway because it's not going to hurt. Even though I've embedded my textures, I don't technically need it. What is this folder called? Blender only. So many there. So we're just gonna be opening up the diffuse texture like that, and then obviously we're just gonna file save new YTD like that. I think that should be. But yeah, now our texture is in there. That would be on the basis that you would have the spec and the normal embedded into it. Otherwise, you would want to put them into here too. So obviously now you just want to name them, and to name them, obviously it's going to vary per server, how you put your stuff in, but this is like the most basic form of naming. And if it was the first chain you ever put in, it would be 000, and the next one be number 1, stuff like that. I think I've only got a few in this server at the moment, so I'm just going to name it like number 4. So I'll just change both of these to number 4, and yeah, basically just rename the YTD. Oops. If we take that, right click, rename, and then same with the YDD. Okay, so those effectively now are good to go in the server. And yeah, so it's kind of like a long thing to show you how to put them in a server as well. I imagine most of you by now that are doing this know how to put in your server, but you want to be putting them into like your folder system and making sure that folder system's insured and stuff. If you don't know how to do that, then I have got other videos that will show you how to do that. So by all means, go and check that out. But yeah, I'm just gonna jump into the server and I'll see you when I'm there. All right, so here I am in the server. Now, I will warn you, I do have like an FPS pack on, which obviously minimalizes textures. Therefore, my chain's not blinging like all light and stuff like that, but obviously you can see the kind of sparkle effect, even though it's being suppressed by this graphic pack. If you had like, I don't know, like the Drills graphic pack that does enhance sparkles, then this will be blinging like crazy. You can tell just by the static environment that's on there, even inside this type of texture pack. But yeah, basically that's it, guys. That's all we wanted to do, is just be able to create a chain and make it sparkle in Blender and get into game. So yeah, I mean, it's been a while since I made a tutorial. I'm gonna start trying to make some more again, but for now, this is Jules, over and out. Peace.